Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 140 of Press A to Listen. It took us 140 episodes, but we finally got rid of the dead weight on this show. And it was a whole lot of dead weight, let me tell you. My name is Pantless Steve. I am your host. I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Rare Bishop.
Yeah, we finally got rid of that asshole.
And we are Sm1tty free this week, so this is clearly going to be your favorite episode ever, because he'll be back next week. He is at PAX East, so I'll be prepared to listen to about an hour and a half of him talk about who knows what next week.
On a buffalo or something.
PAX East. So we're recording on Saturday, which is day 2 of PAX, and if I saw correctly, I think he went to bed at 10 o'clock on day 1 of PAX.
Sounds like something an old person would do, so makes sense.
You're doing PAX wrong, but that's okay. We don't care about him. We're not talking about PAX. We're not there. We're here to bring you pretty much a full episode. I think we're going to skip the Metacritic game because it's fun to listen to him lose. But other than that, yeah, we're going to kind of knock through everything, starting with what we're playing. So tell me, Bishop, what have you been playing? I've been playing the same thing, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we played almost identical stuff, but I'll start with the one you haven't played, which is White Knight, which is this like black and white survival horror game, which kind of crept up on me because I didn't really know much about it until it was in the store. So I went ahead and picked it up, and the game's legitimately a horror game. Like it's some of them, there's some jump scares in there that kind of, you can see coming, but like the atmosphere and the tension is there. It kind of reminded me, the tension-wise, of like Alien Isolation, where
fuck that. I'm out. I don't want.
Stuff's coming around the corner, and the enemies are mainly just ghosts. Like there's not like an alien or anything, but they're there. You just don't know when they're going to pop out because they're not. They're kind of like the alien. They just kind of walk around the environment while you're there, and sometimes they'll pop out. And if you die and go back to that same place, they may not show up again. So it kind of keeps you on your toes, and the sound and the atmosphere, it's all there. Like I'm only 2 or 3 chapters in right now, but I'm really enjoying it.
When you say enemies, is there like combat?
There kind of. I haven't seen any weapons or anything yet, but you can kind of scare ghosts away for the time being to kind of get yourself some breathing room. But I haven't seen any like actual hand-to-hand combat. And the weird thing is you don't control the camera. You just control the movement. So there's some instances where you see an enemy, or you hear an enemy, and you know it's near you, but you have to get to a certain spot in the area before the camera pans so you can see them. So there's some weird instances with the camera, but the actual gameplay itself, which is mainly just you going around this house and trying to figure out what happened after you hit this girl in the opening scene with your car. So it's pretty good so far. It's one of the best horror games that I've played in the last few years because it actually legitimately scares you.
Is it like a puzzle game, or?
To an extent, yeah. There are some doors you can't get into until you go search certain areas. So, like, one instance
so it's like a Metroidvania.
Yeah. Like, there's the very first room you get into when you get into the house is you have to get to the library, you have to find this key. But you kind of have to start a fire to be able to see into a certain room. Once you do that, you then search a book, and there's a key in there. So, I mean, yeah, it's sort of a puzzle game. It's definitely more puzzle stuff than combat.
Do things like twinkle when you can find them?
No, they make little sounds. So like
okay.
They do kind of twinkle a little bit. It's kind of like in like Revelations 2 when you can zoom in on stuff with your secondary character. They kind of blink a little bit like that, and you can kind of see them pretty well because most of the game is pretty dark. You have these matches that are basically your light source for the majority of the game.
Yeah, so this it's all black and white, right?
Yeah,
it's very like negative space oriented.
Yeah, exactly.
Are the flames red, or are they just black and white?
No,
they're
just
I feel
white.
like that'd be kind of cool if you like lit a match and then kind of color would go into wherever.
Yeah. But
I don't design games, so fucking whatever.
I mean, I'm enjoying it. I think people should try it out. If you're into horror games, that is.
Oh, man. I want to like horror games, but...
You're just a baby?
But I'm a big pussy is basically what it is.
Yeah.
Especially like those type, like anticipation on stuff. That shit drives me insane.
Yeah, when you don't know when it's coming. You kind of it's just a big guessing game, kind of.
Fuck. Alright, what else?
I've also played some, I beat episode 2 of Resident Evil Revelations 2.
So I have not. I've finished Claire's version, or portion.
Alright, that's the best portion of that.
Well, that's how it was for the first one too, I think.
Yeah.
This one seems a lot longer.
It is definitely longer because
I felt
it does the same thing where you kind of, when you go to, what's his name, Barry, when you use those characters, you still backtrack through the environment.
I could tell that walking through because you could kind of see like little holes where the girl could crawl through.
Yeah. Which I think that's the big downside for the game for me is that instead of there being new areas, and granted it's like, what is it, like 6 months later when Barry and them show up, so but the backtracking stuff I think is just a poor way to do game design and like to do new environments. Like instead of doing that, we'll just have them go through the exact same area.
Yeah. I was like playing through Claire's and I was like, this is really long. And then I'm thinking maybe episode 2 is just Claire and then episode 3 would be all Barry because of the length of her episode, or her section at least, felt like the entire length of episode 1 with both characters combined. So
yeah,
at least there's more content, it seems like. I haven't checked out any of the raid stuff either, but
I haven't either.
I think they added more characters. Definitely more levels have been thrown in. So I continue to like it.
Yeah, I still enjoy it. I mean, that's one of those things. It's definitely more action than it is horror, but I feel like the action is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm happy that Resident Evil's kind of gotten to this point. Okay, sure. You know, I think we talked about it last night. It's a mixture of old and new, and I think it's the best combination that they've had in a while. So
yeah, it feels like it's the RE4 kind of tension and stuff, but it's the RE5 action, which is what I want because I really like the shooting and stuff in RE5.
Yeah,
and
so I'll finish that up before next week. And
I feel like the bracelets that you wear, you know, you kind of have the overseer that kind of watches you and kind of teases you with what's going to happen next. It reminds me of a lot of the Saw movies. Like, it reminds me of Jigsaw, which I enjoy those movies. So, like, seeing that going, I'm curious to see where they end that with. If you actually ever see the overseer.
They've given us a little more info on the bracelets in this episode, too.
Yeah. So, yeah, everything's really well done. I'm really enjoying that.
Did you... When you finish, were you just like, oh man, now I'm ready for the next episode? Because I felt that way after the first one. But
yeah, because they leave it again. They do a good job with the cliffhangers.
Really? Okay.
And they do. I love the fact they say like next time on, so it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight to what's going to happen in episode 3. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing that next week.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Claire portion, and like I said, I still have to do the Barry portion, but I'll have that done. And then, oh geez. That shit comes out real soon again, doesn't it?
About Tuesday evening.
Fuck. Alright. I'm gonna have to prioritize some shit.
Yeah.
Alright. I continue to enjoy that. What else you got?
We played a little bit of the Zombie Army Trilogy, which came out, yesterday, Friday?
Yeah.
That is something, because like they call their missions kind of the campaign, but it feels like it's just a giant kind of horde mode that you're progressing through. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I feel like there's not granted we only played the very first mission, which took us like an hour to do, which was kind of shocking to me. I just feel like I hope they add more stuff to it. It's not just that. You just not go through the area and just do nothing but kill zombies. I hope there's actually objectives to do.
And this is off of the build off Sniper Elite.
Yeah, Sniper Elite 3.
Elite, yeah. So, I think they do a good job with like their zombies and their zombie hordes, and I feel like it's just the right amount. My problem is that like, they still have a lot of the kind of sniper sway, which I get, but I almost wish they had kind of minimized that a little bit since you literally have dudes sprinting at you, and then I guess we could just kind of play on easy and eliminate all of that stuff, but like trying to account for bullet drop when something is running right at you, where it should just be like, just let me shoot him in the face. But yeah, if they're all that length, because there's 15 total missions across 3 air quote campaigns. I mean, there's some decent content in there if that's the case. Up to 4 players simultaneously co-op through the entire thing, which is great. Yeah, I feel like you need it. I mean, some of those tougher enemies, and I imagine they'll get tougher as you go. You have to get some shots on them, and some of them you have to shoot in the head, like shooting them in the body and stuff just doesn't do anything to them. And you can get taken down pretty quickly. Wish there was like an upgrade system there. I don't feel like I'm working towards anything. Yeah, there's no upgrades. I want to see like a bar go up. I don't know. That's just fucking Destiny, I think. But I want to see bars go up and feel like I'm working towards something, and I don't think I am. But yeah, I mean, it seems cool. I'm excited to kind of jump in when people get back from PAX and get some more people in there and see if we can get up to 4 and really kind of enjoy the chaos that will ensue. But,
yeah, see what they meant for you to do it with 4 people, not actually just do it with 2.
Yeah, so I mean, we've literally only done 1 level, so we're super early into that. I'm going to talk about a game I played, and then we'll talk about the last one that we played.
All right.
They talked about Dragon Ball Xenoverse last week,
Yep.
and I picked this game up because I was kind of excited to play it, and then I got into it and realized that this game's deep. It's Dragon Ball Destiny is
Oh my god.
is almost what it is. It's very, I mean, it's kind of got like tinges, very light tinges of like MMO stuff. You know, there's the kind of Dragon Ball crazy fighting combat that we talked about last week, and if you've ever seen one of those games, you kind of know what to expect. But in between missions is where this one gets really interesting, because there's a hub world, which will eventually fill with other people online. So it's kind of your, meeting area.
The tower.
The tower, sure. There are, you get certain things from missions, and you can go and combine them and create new things, and you get different armor. There's kind of a main story quest, which you can just kind of get through at your leisure, although not really, because it gets really hard really quickly. And then so in town there's this like area that you can go to, and you can essentially run like mini missions. And these ones you can actually team up with, you can get like a group of computer players to join you, or you can get other people to jump in, up to, I think it's 4 people for this as well, and go out and run these. And they're kind of like the bounties of the game, if you will.
Yeah.
Like you're running like your dailies, but they don't really seem to end. Like you can kind of keep doing them. And from there you're going to get, you have when you like accept one, it shows you the possible drops. So it's not everything, but you could get a new piece of gear that'll make your, light attacks go up, but your super attack loses a little bit. So you're constantly shuffling gear around, and you kind of have to go on and farm these bounties for some better gear, so that when you go back to the story missions, which as far as I have seen, the story missions I think are only single player, but they put in like AI computer opponents in there with you. So it's a weird mixture of just running around this town, finding other people, you inspect them, you can say, hey, do you want to team up and go do this thing? And then you can kind of go out and run. And it's an interesting setup, and I think it's one that it kind of makes the monotony of just going into these giant kind of open areas and flying through the air and doing all these crazy fireballs and fighting a little more interesting, because it's not just kind of do a fight, watch a cutscene of some anime, do a fight, watch a cutscene of some anime. It just gives it more of a game feel, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so I've kind of mixed a couple of things together and made like some minor potions, but there seems to be some complexity to some of this that hopefully I will have the attention span to really dig in and get to. All my gear kind of sucks still, so I need to get out there and do some grinding.
Are the bounties straight up just go kill this guy? Let's go fight this guy?
Some of them. So one of them. I don't know if I've done enough of them. So the first one I did, you kind of go into this area and you can explore around, and you have this cool little eyepiece goggle that you can actually activate into first person mode and look around, and it'll kind of show you where hidden stuff in the environment is, so you can just fly over and pick that stuff up. And then from there you could like warp into the next zone, and then when you get there, some enemies might show up and you had to kill them, and then the victory formation or requirement was to kill all 3 of the enemy people. But you want to kind of use your eyeglass thing to look around and make sure you're not leaving any, collectible. They're not collectibles, but like resources behind.
Yeah. And
then another one I jumped in and it was like, kill 20 of these, basically like little fodder. So I was like, oh, cool, okay. So they kind of come at you like 3 or 4 at a time, but they're basically harmless unless you just stop moving and let them all hit you at once. So I killed 20 of them, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, it evolved into this, oh, you killed my, you know, my little minions, now you have to fight me, which I thought was kind of cool. And then randomly, like, an AI showed up and joined in on my team, so it was kind of this weird, like, 2 versus 1 things. So I don't know if they're all going to be like that, or if that's the 2 variations, and then we're kind of rinse and repeat. But I've done 2 so far, and they were pretty drastically different. I mean, in the end, they kind of end in you just button mashing and doing crazy combos, and throwing fireballs and slamming people into the earth and creating craters, which is awesome in its own. But
sounds like Dragon Ball.
It's very Dragon Ball. But I really like it.
It's like there's a lot of stuff there.
It's a lot deeper than I think I gave it credit for.
Yeah,
I was just like, I want to play a Dragon Ball game. Fuck it. And then I got in and started messing around, and I was like, whoa, there's some complexity to it. So I'm excited to kind of keep jumping in. Now I just need to find some people to run some grind missions with.
I'm sure Sm1tty will do it with you.
Yeah. I'll be too busy playing fucking build a campfire. I don't know. That game actually sounds really cool. I'm not mad. And then we both played one last game.
Yeah. ScreamRide.
ScreamRide.
Yeah, Savage. We played Savage.
God damn it.
Yep.
Fuck you, Smitty.
Even when he's not here, Savage Lands gets a plug. But yeah, we both played ScreamRide, which we kind of talked about a little bit when the demo came out. And I've played the first, I think there's 6 series in total. I've played the first 3. I don't know how far you've gotten.
Probably about the same.
I still enjoy that game, and I still feel like it's not worth $40.
I agree. It's one. I don't think it does a good job of holding attention. I think it's one of those games that you can pop in and you can like knock out 5 of those Angry Birds style missions, and then you're kind of like, okay, I'm done. And then you might pop back on later and do the roller coaster building stuff and go, all right, that was pretty cool. Yeah, all right, I think I'm done. It doesn't seem like one of those games that you're just going to sit down and you know put some time into. It's kind of like a time waster thing to me. At least that's how I feel. Because everything it does, like it does well.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do enough to hold interest.
I also feel like there's not enough to it. Like I feel like you can get through some majority of those levels in a night. Like there's not some of those series only have 3 missions in them.
Yeah, I mean if you sat down and just kind of marathoned it, but you know, I don't think you could do that. So I guess that gives it a little bit more longevity. I don't know. And what is your favorite and least favorite?
I actually really enjoy the ScreamRider levels, which I know is just you riding a roller coaster. But I feel like they kind of add some new mechanics to it as you progress. Like you start out, you're just riding it. Then you have to hit the X button to get turbo. Then you have to hit the X button to land a jump. Then you have these obstacles in the way on the track, so you kind of have to lean left and right. So I feel like they do enough to that mode to make it interesting and actually add new stuff to it. And then I feel like the engineer stuff, although I know there'll be a ton of people who actually enjoy that, building your own roller coasters, I feel like it's just boring. Yeah, especially because a lot of the, like, at least the story, air quotes, story mission, or, you know, however their progression level is done, yeah,
you don't really get to build much of it. It's just kind of like, yo, make the end of this roller coaster and launch somebody into this building.
Well,
like, oh, well, okay.
And I would say that I give them credit for that. Like they mix some of the modes together. So yeah, like some of the engineer levels, you build a track, and then to get points, you get the points for when you launch the roller coaster into something. So it kind of takes aspects of that demolition expert mode, like the Angry Birds type levels, and puts it into the engineer levels. So I like the fact they're combining the two. And the demolition expert, they're constantly introducing new cabins. So like there's one. I think they do a good job all across all 3 different game modes of constantly giving you something new. But then I don't know. It's like once you see that new thing once, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, now I have to do another like 4 or 5 levels of that. Okay. Yeah, I'll do a couple and then I'll move on. And I think kind of the biggest thing that I didn't even know it was in there is like the fact that you can actually make your own roller coasters and rides and stuff and then share those. I think that's cool, because I might not want to sit there and make a roller coaster, but I tried to sit there the other day and kind of make one of those Angry Bird style levels where you're going into stuff, and it's pretty easy to do. Like I feel like anyone can kind of sit down in an hour or 2 and kind of make their own level. That's the sandbox mode? Yeah, the sandbox mode, and then you can share those to the world. And And apparently people like mine because I have like 150 something downloads on one. So
aren't you fucking fancy?
Got my achievement, so I'm done with that game.
Once a week, Bishop has to say, I got my achievement, so I'm done with that shit.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad game.
No, it's not bad at all. I feel like for the value proposition is not really there.
And I mean, even at $40, yeah, there's 3 very distinctive modes, and I think all 3 of them are done extremely well, and they're all very different in the type of gameplay they offer. It just, I don't know, it just, like I said, it just doesn't do enough to kind of hold my attention. But, you know, if I'm sitting around and I'm like, I got like a half an hour to burn, I feel like that's the perfect game to just jump in and go, well, let me go throw some cabins at stuff and watch things crumble with their weird physics system. Which, it looks awesome, and when you, like, hit one of those buildings and everything falls apart and it falls over into the next building and explosions start happening, it does a good job of making you feel like you just accomplished something really cool, but...
Did you hit the blimp yet?
I haven't hit a blimp.
I hit a blimp
I've gotten real damn close to a blimp a couple of times. I almost hit a boat once, too.
Fuck those boats.
Yeah.
They're fast. The easiest way to do the blimp thing is you just get one of those flying cabins and just fly it right into it.
A flying cabin?
There's a cabin where it has wings. You hit the A button.
Oh, maybe I haven't gotten as far as you then. I don't have a winged one.
Yeah, instead of boosting, you hit the A button and then you're flying. But the downside is the flying controls are inverted and you cannot change them.
Oh, you monsters. Monsters.
That's something like a European developer would do.
I have the cabin that breaks apart into 3 and then the regular one. Maybe you are a little bit farther than I am.
Like the first 2 series I didn't realize that broke apart, so I was just letting it go into the buildings, and then I didn't realize you could hold the A button to fine tune your aim until like I watched the Giant Bomb Quick Look.
I didn't know you could hold the A button to fine tune.
Yeah, if you hold the A button, it goes into slow motion, and it will... You can aim a little easier. Launching? Yeah, when you're launching. I didn't know you could do that. Because apparently I don't like reading tutorials, so that's my fault, not the game's.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun game that I bet will end up on Games for Gold.
I said the same thing about their Zoo Tycoon game that's never been on there.
Well, this one was Microsoft published, though, right?
So was Zoo Tycoon.
Oh, yeah, I guess it was, wasn't it?
I mean, it's definitely possible. And I feel like if you're going to get the game, if you have a 360, I feel like the $30 version on the 360, because I doubt the only real difference is probably going to be the resolution itself. That's probably the way to go, because you save $10 and you can still actually experience the game.
Nah, this can't be on sale soon enough.
I mean, yeah, probably. I feel like they would have launched it at $20 as a digital-only title. I feel like they would have sold a shit ton of those.
It's just, I don't know, this whole game's kind of an anomaly, because they showed that trailer, and everybody was kind of like, what the hell is this? Like, oh, it's a roller coaster game. Wait, no, people are crashing and exploding. And then that was just and then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
And then it was like, yo, there's a demo, and we're coming out. And you're like, wait, what the hell happened? What? What's going on? So, yeah.
Microsoft seems to do that a lot.
I guess.
Like, just kind of just put it out there. Fuck it.
I guess that Ori is kind of the same thing, huh? I mean, they showed gameplay, though, at E3 last year. That's more than they did for...
ScreamRide.
Yeah.
We get gameplay of it for months. But yeah, I enjoy it. Just not worth $40.
Yeah, I agree. That's it?
Yeah, that's all we played, so...
And Destiny, you want to talk about Destiny?
No, don't want to talk about Destiny.
I think I'm coming to an end, man.
I told you were not going to be able to play that game until May.
I think I'm coming to an end. I've got this Titan left to level to 32, and once I do that, I don't know. I mean, I'll hop on for the weekly stuff and try and fish some exotics out, and I'll run a raid every week, but I don't see myself. I don't know.
I'll try to tell you that that was waiting too long between content.
And this is just me talking. I could totally just be like, fuck it, I'm back in, and I want to run shit constantly. But yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to come to an end.
Although we've come to the end of the road, what Boys to Men would say.
Oh, boy. Bishop, what came out this week?
ScreamRide came out, Xbox One and Xbox 360. Shiftlings came out, which is a co-op kind of puzzle game, which you can play online, apparently. It's $15. It's on the Xbox One. White Knight, which we talked about earlier, is $15 on the Xbox One. Zombie Army Trilogy is $50 if you're not gold. It's $40 if you're an Xbox Live Gold member. I bought it before they had that sale, so I lost $10.
So the night it came out, it was $50 on the console, but it was $40 on the app. And I was like, well, this might be fucking broken, but I'm paying $40 for this, so I just clicked on the app and did it that way.
I did not do that. That is out on the Xbox One. And then Ollie Ollie is out on the Xbox One. It's $10 or it's $8.50 if you're a gold member, which is weird.
Or you can download Ollie Ollie 2 for free.
Yeah, I'll say that's still weird. Ollie Ollie 1's out on Xbox One. Ollie Ollie 2's on the PS4.
Why didn't they just make a play for Ollie Ollie 2? You know?
I mean, because Ollie Ollie, the game being ported over by Curve Digital, so it's not the actual original studio. Because they were busy, obviously, making Ollie Ollie 2. So in a year from now, Ollie Ollie 2 will be out.
But it's very, I think, reliant on the D-pad, and I don't know if I trust this Xbox One D-pad still enough.
It's better than if it would be on the 360 with that D-pad.
This is true.
That's it for releases, because everything else here is for next week.
Oh, shit. I was like, did I miss?
Nope.
So, Far Cry Yetis is next week?
Yetis is next week.
Fucking Yetis. Oh, man. Far Cry 4. I'll come back. We're not going to play the Metacritic game.
Just assume that I won.
We know that Steve would win, Bishop would come in second, and Smitty would be really bad in the third. And if there was a special guest, Smitty would have been in fourth. And we're going to jump into news. So this is kind of the big reason that we said, Buck Smitty, we're going to do this, because there's a whole lot of news. And if we tried to cover all of PAX East and all of this news, we would put
next week's show would have never ended.
4-hour show or something. So GDC just passed, and PAX is a day old at this point. So most of this news came from all of that fun stuff. Right, buckle in. You ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Wolfenstein, The New Order is getting a standalone prequel. It's called Wolfenstein the Old Blood, and it will release on May 5th for $20. It takes place in 1946, where the Nazis are on the brink of winning World War II.
This made me happy when I read this.
This was, I got super excited when I saw this, and then I got really nervous in hopes that this wasn't a cash-in on just everybody getting excited about Wolfenstein, end of year stuff. But watching that trailer, it looks pretty dope.
Yeah, that trailer is a pretty damn good trailer, and I feel like this is the right way to do DLC, because it makes it to where if you don't own the game, you can still experience Wolfenstein in the new combat and the way that they did the story and stuff. Like, I feel like that's the right way to release that. Also,
that pipe, that's your main melee weapon, where he takes it apart and jams it in somebody's neck and then uses the other part to hammer it in. Oh.
I thought the actual ending of that was pretty cool, because like he's sawing off a shotgun and then a dude crashes in and he's just like, fuck it, I gotta saw really, really fast now. So he just sped that up.
They have like a really kind of neat, I'm trying to think of what the art style that trailer portrayed.
It was kind of like a Frankenstein, like old monster movie.
Yeah, kind of, which I kind of hope that's throughout the game and that's not just for the trailer.
Yeah, I hope so.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. $20 is a perfect price. Hopefully,
yeah. There's 2 missions, I think, is what they said. So, I mean, if the missions are of good length, I'd say an hour and a half, 2 hours apiece. That'd be fine.
Yeah. But more Wolfenstein. More Sunset Overdrive as well, as a new story add-on has been announced. Dawn of the Rise of the Fallen Machines.
Great name.
Up and down and up and down. Will release on April 1st. Just kidding, it won't. The add-on will feature new characters, a new playable area, new missions, weapons, traps, amps. It'll be $10 or the last piece. This is the last piece, right?
The last story piece of the season pass, yeah.
So
coming to an end.
There it is.
And I watched the trailer for that. Well, they don't have a trailer. There's Sunset TV that they did, and you're kind of like in the, what was those things called? The robot facility is what you're kind of in, kind of fighting those throughout. And those are kind of the worst. The worst.
I was like, fuck, man, I don't remember Sunset at all.
Yeah, the white robots.
Yeah, I know you're talking about, yeah.
They were kind of like the enemies I hated the most, because it took me a while to figure out what they actually were vulnerable against. But then once I figured that out, they're pretty easy to defeat. But I'm glad it's not just the OD you're fighting again. It kind of, they're using different enemies.
Have you played the other story stuff? You have, right?
Yeah, I beat it.
Is it all accessible from the main game, or is it kind of a separate executable?
No, it's not a separate executable. It's in the main game, but you have to go through a teleporter to get to it, to activate it. I haven't gone back since I beat it, so I don't know if it's an oil rig out in the water. So I'm not sure.
Okay, so you can't just kind of jump between that and you kind of have to say, I'm going to the oil rig and
well,
now...
You did when you booted it up. I don't know if now, since I've beaten it, if I can just now go out to that oil rig, it's now accessible, or if I have to go back to the teleporter. But yeah, it's part of the main game. You start the campaign, then there's just a icon on the screen that says, "Hey, you should go do this."
Okay. So it's not like the Forza stuff or
no, it's not.
I mean, I guess that's kind of it was there, but then it just takes you to a separate. It's essentially a separate executable, but just you have to get in the game to do it.
Yeah.
Rock Band 4, it's official.
Finally, I called it.
You and the entire internet?
No, I called it first.
Sure. Okay. So DLC songs will work.
Yep.
With, I guess, hundreds available at launch, but not everything that you've bought.
Kind of like they did with Dance Central.
But the idea is to eventually get everything in there, correct?
Yeah, that they have license. Obviously, some songs have, the license has overlap, so they have not renewed them. So some of the songs will not carry over. But majority of them, I think they said they were trying to get like 2,100 songs over. So that will take a few months to get that on the storefront and everything.
Yeah. New instruments. Like, Mad Catz is making new instruments. They're working with Harmonix and Microsoft to get the old instruments to work with the game. Expect more information in May, and of course, leading up to release. This has got to be a September game.
Usually they came out in about October, I think, is when Rock Band
Were they
came
that
out.
late? So here's my problem with it. Like, I'm excited for a Rock Band. My wife is probably way more excited. She's a big Rock Band junkie. I never liked the Rock Band instruments.
Yeah, I feel like Guitar Hero instruments were like superior designed.
I really liked the feel of just the way the buttons worked on the Guitar Hero guitars versus the Rock Band ones. And looking at that one that they have that they're selling at PAX right now,
because the problem is like the Rock Band buttons would be kind of ingrained into the actual plastic guitar, so it kind of looked like it was not buttons, it was just part of the fretboard, whereas the Guitar Hero, they were actual literal buttons raised up on the thing. So yeah, it was a little bit easier to press.
Yeah, I agree. So it's like, that's like my one thing I'm nervous about. It's like, if you can make the old instruments work, can you make the old Guitar Hero?
I would imagine they would, because it just said instruments. They don't know if it's a Rock Band or Guitar Hero. They just know that it's a
I
guitar.
Guess. I mean, I guess they use that same wireless modules.
I don't know how they would go about doing it, but I figured, and granted, I'm not a designer, and so I could be completely wrong. I figured they could just do like a USB dongle that would plug into the Xbox One, and then it would that dongle itself would connect wirelessly to the guitar, and so that could theoretically work. Granted, I could be 100% wrong on that, but I figured that could be a possibility. But yeah, I'm super excited for Rock Band 4. I hope they can get a decent track list with them not having to work with a publisher like EA or Viacom, which is MTV. They don't have to go with what they say. They can kind of do their own thing now. So I'm hoping they can get a decent track list and it's not just all fucking 70s rock and roll.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, hey.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying we don't need a whole game.
My biggest concern coming out is just like, oh no, do I have to use this Rock Band controller? Because I'm the guitar guy and my wife is the singer, but...
Well, I hope not, because the only guitars I own the Guitar Hero 5 guitar and the Warriors of Rock guitar.
Yeah, I have a bunch of I have I might actually only have one or two left now. I think I finally got rid of that shit.
I got that keyboard, though.
I do have a keyboard.
They did an FAQ and said, like, they're not adding new instruments, so there's not going to be, like, a fucking tuba or saxophone or some shit. And they're not supporting pro guitar, but they're supporting pro drums. And so I guess the keyboard won't be supported in new songs, but it'll be supported in the DLC that supports the keyboard. So, little interesting that they're not going to do anything with the keyboard for new songs, but at least you can play those old ones with it. Okay. So they have a lot of songs with that. Billy Joel is pretty popular. Know if you heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Plays the keyboard. He's a keyboard man. That's what they call him, right? Keyboard man?
I've never heard of him. I don't know who you're talking about.
Not piano man, it's keyboard man. That's right.
I do know who Billy Joel is, by the way. Internet, calm down. Mad Max has a release date of September 1st.
Finally. 360
version? It's gone. No more.
Yep, makes sense. People aren't buying those, unless it's Call of Duty. People aren't really buying 360 PS3 games anymore. So there's no point in developing them.
So does this game going to stick to this date? Because
I feel like if they're going to still stay true to that thing of, hey, we're going to release Just Cause 3 in 2015 too, they kind of have to, because, like, where do you put Just Cause 3? Like, that has to be like a November game.
Or it's
delayed.
Yeah.
I feel like
Well, the reason we asked this is because also September 1st is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
I'm trying to figure out, like, what... I would imagine, the audience for those two might overlap a little bit more than I would think.
I think, yeah.
But I feel
also, I mean, I just feel like as long as this Metal Gear game's kind of been in anticipation,
yeah.
I just don't know if anyone wants to compete with it, just because you're not going to get that window space on, in these stores and that advertisement space, because Metal Gear is just going to eat all of that up.
So you're saying it's this year's Destiny? Like, everyone gets away from it?
I mean, maybe.
Because it's also launched in September. Like, nothing launched anywhere near it.
I mean, what else would come out? I mean, Halo is generally a September game, but no way
Halo
Microsoft
4 and the Master Chief Collection came out in November, so that would probably be a November game. Obviously, Call of Duty's November. Forza's an October game. Bungie was September, yeah.
September, but now that Microsoft's doing that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they'll keep it close to holiday.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Duty will be November.
The week before will be Madden, so Madden won't compete with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I think, obviously, Metal Gear is going to do extremely well for Konami and them, but I feel like Mad Max, like, they announced that game.
Do we know anything besides that trailer?
I mean, Game Informer did a story where they kind of gave away some stuff on it, like the open world of the game, you can kind of keep going. And then once you hit, there's no invisible walls, but once you get to a certain point, like a giant sandstorm will come at you, and a bunch of supplies will be in there. So if you're fast enough, you can kind of get some supplies to help you upgrade weapons and upgrade your vehicle. But if you're not quick enough, you'll die and you'll lose whatever you picked up. So I feel like that's a cool way to do an open world. And yeah, like it's Outposts. It's kind of like
third person or first person?
It's third person shooting, but when you're in the car, you can drive that in first person.
So is this going to be too similar to Just Cause?
I feel like it'd be too similar to, like, it's like half Just Cause, half Far Cry, because they have Outposts too that you overtake.
Of course they do. Every game has Outposts now.
So I feel like, yeah,
towers you got to climb.
But it makes sense, obviously, because it's the developers of that. I think the only thing that'll be missing will be the grappling hook.
So, like, Just Cause has to get pushed, right?
I said when they announced it, there's no way both of those games come out the same year.
Especially being so similar.
Yeah, because, I mean, you would basically be competing with yourself.
Yeah,
I feel like Just Cause would be a perfect March game next year. Granted, we say that now, and of course every game will be delayed till March of next year. But like right now, I feel like that'd be the perfect time to do that.
Yeah, because Microsoft's going to announce Crackdown.
Which will be out in like May, because that's usually when those games come out.
September. They're going to be putting it out this fall.
No, they ain't even started working on that game, barely.
Below will come out.
Below is dead. That game's never happening again. It went below the surface. No one fucking heard of it in a year.
Oh. Please come out Below. I still love you.
Well, yeah, my last thing about Mad Max is they announced it at E3 2013, then kind of like nothing happened for a year, then announced a release date, and then said, no, we're going to delay it, and then waited 8 months before announcing the new release date. And I feel like that's just the wrong way to go about handling a game. And then cancel 2 versions of it. Granted, Dying Light did kind of the similar thing.
Well, I think, isn't it all of that really due to the demand for Just Cause, though?
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Metal Gear will do well. Mad Max will... I don't know what Warner Brothers is expecting from it. I will buy it because I'm super interested in that.
Weird. Alright, let's get into some GDC nonsense, shall we? Xbox brought out some big guns for GDC. Elite Dangerous. Coming to Xbox One this summer.
Timed exclusive.
Yep, and so they said launching first.
Yeah.
All content from PC version included. I feel like this is a big get.
I feel like it's a huge get because everyone that's talked about VR, and granted this is not a VR game yet on consoles, but when they talk about VR and they talk about like PC sims, this is the main game they usually talk about. So like I feel like getting that on your system, whereas granted it's not the same as No Man's Sky, but I feel like that's kind of their No Man's Sky is getting this game on their system.
Now, does this kind of say, fuck you to Rebel Galaxy?
No, because I feel like they're two different.
Are they different? I don't really know enough about.
No, this is a hardcore sim game. You use this with a flight stick and all kinds of stuff. Whereas Rebel Galaxy, we've talked about it. The action is on a 2D plane. You don't have to worry about flying around and going up and down over enemies. So I feel like it's kind of different. But I mean, I could see if those guys that make Rebel Galaxy would take it that way.
Is Elite Dangerous like Eve? Kind of.
It's similar. Like you build it. There's a lot of shit happening, and it is a lot of complicated stuff happening. Like you build a ship and you have to mess with it, kind of like you would tune a car and stuff. It's a lot of stuff happening in that game. That's why I'm kind of curious how it would work on Xbox One.
So they also talked about cross-platform play between Xbox One and Windows 10. So there's a lot of stuff kind of focused around this. But one of the kind of takeaways was that Yacht Club, the developers behind Shovel Knight, coming to Xbox One as well, said it took 1 day to port and add crossplay into the game. So, I mean, that's a good sign for the future of this crossplay functionality. It didn't work so well, or it just kind of died when 360 attempted to do it.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a lot of games supported with it.
Granted, yeah, what was there? It
was like Shadowrun.
Oh,
there was
bad.
I don't think the Gears of War game did it, and I don't think Halo 3 did it either. So
yeah. I mean, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get big games to do it, like if you launch, like Fable Legends, granted it's not a huge game, but with it being free to play, and you get a bigger audience, you get more people playing it.
Yeah. And on the Shovel Knight boat, Battletoads characters will be featured in the Xbox One version.
So they're just continue to tease us with Battletoads.
Yeah, they're just trolling Battletoads. Does anybody really want a new Battletoads game?
In my mind, I do. I don't
yeah,
know if well, in my heart, I do. I don't know if in my mind.
I want to play a new Battletoads game.
I'd like to see a Battletoads game in action, and who the hell would be making it?
Rare.
You think they would actually let Rare do that?
I don't know. What the fuck's Rare doing?
Battletoads Connect.
What's Rare doing? Rare doesn't make Connect games anymore, right?
Oh, okay. Well, my thing about this news was like they said to add crossplay. What the hell would Shovel Knight have? They don't have co-op, do they? So what would crossplay be between Windows 10 and Xbox?
Yeah, I don't know why Shovel Knight was the kind of ones that came out and talked about it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, IDAR mentioned it. I think they said it took them like a little bit less than a week to add all that stuff with a Surface and everything like that.
There you go.
I mean, at least it's there. I mean, and
it seems like the tools are easy enough that
the SDK and stuff is there to allow people to do it with ease.
Now, piggybacking on that news, cross-buy is finally coming to Microsoft products. So Windows 10, Xbox One,
Windows Phone,
Pinball FX2, first title to support this.
Makes a ton of sense because they have a shit ton of tables.
Buy your table once, and you have it on every Windows-supported platform of the game.
Yeah, let's say down the line, Sunset Overdrive comes out for Windows 10 PCs. If they can sit there and say, "Oh, we know we can tell by your Xbox Live account you've purchased it on Xbox One," you can then get the PC version for free or something. So, like, if they can do that with big games and not just kind of the indie games, that's a pretty big thing. Because a lot of people own PCs.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, well.
Xbox Live will not be required when playing multiplayer on Windows 10, though. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if
you're just gonna have each game's gonna have a unique login.
No, I mean Xbox Live will be supported. I put that in wrong. It will not. You're not required to pay for it.
Oh, so you don't need a gold.
You don't need gold. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you still need your login and everything.
Yeah, you still need to log in to play it. You just don't have to pay them a monthly fee to do it. It's just tacked on with your, whatever you have. So
yeah, good. That makes sense.
They're doing the right thing.
There's all those rumors that Xbox Live's price might get permanently dropped, which
they want to be the real fuck. They're not going to do it because they make so much money off of it.
Chalk it up to rumors, but I mean, well, if they dropped it to $40, then their console and their online is less than Sony.
And you still don't, you don't need the online to use any of their apps anymore.
Yep. So I mean, they're
doing their best.
They understand. Yeah.
They seem like they know what they're doing now.
Microsoft also announced on the PC Windows 10 front a wireless adapter for PC. This will allow you to use your Xbox One controller without the need for the cable and plugging it in.
So
I don't know why they did
a play and charge this. Yeah, I mean, well, they did the same thing with the 360, like when they launched that. And granted, that was years ago. They didn't really know how big that controller would get on the PC market, but they had to release that years later. I want to know where the hell the chat pad is.
We don't need a fucking.
Oh well, I mean, there's that.
It's your phone.
I didn't put it in the news, but there's that rumor of them like making a new controller, like kind of designed towards the hardcore players that play FPS and racing games.
Well, I didn't even see this.
Yeah, it was on multiple sites. Like X368 picked it up, among others, and that would be interesting because, like, what the hell?
Form factor?
I don't know. That's the thing. No one.
There's no real.
Is it more buttons you're adding to it? Is it a different form factor? Or are you just adding a share button?
They're adding that black and white button back.
Oh man, I like the black and white button. Whatever, it gets rid of those shitty bumpers.
Yeah, well,
I'd buy a new controller.
Touche.
I would get a new controller if they fix the bumpers.
Touche, fair. So Elite Dangerous was a big surprise, and I was excited about it. The one thing that caught me completely off guard and really got me, I think, super amped up for later this year is that Gigantic is coming to Xbox One, will support cross-platform play with the PC. That will be optional if you just want to play with Xbox One players. But, I mean, I think both of us coming out of PAX South said, man, if they put Gigantic on consoles, I'd be all over this. And we both kind of went, it'll never happen, though. Holy shit, it's happening. I
mean, I said when we got done playing it, like, that game would be perfect with a controller, because it kind of plays really like a console game.
Yeah.
And I feel like, them doing that's a huge get, because I feel like everyone who's played that game has come out of it like saying, man, that really surprised me. I've
never heard anybody play Gigantic and go, fuck, that game sucks.
I mean, Sm1tty will talk about it next week when he gets back, but he's tweeted about it and said he really enjoyed it. Josiah's played it now. So, I mean, people that have played that game, everyone comes out super surprised by it, and that's a good thing.
Now, will it be free to play?
I feel like it will be. I feel like the way they're doing it, they keep adding new heroes, which I feel like they'll just do the kind of Fable Heroes League of Legends thing.
They said it was free to play.
They said they were thinking about it.
Oh, I thought they said it was.
I thought they said they were. I thought they said it was on a model
free,
yet.
and they were going to do the rotating of the heroes strategy, or you could just straight up buy one you wanted.
That would be the smartest thing to do to me.
I agree. I hope so. Yeah, dude, Gigantic. When's that come out? This year?
It says later this year, so I would assume late summer, early fall.
I hope so.
September 1st.
All right, I know it's September 1st game I'm playing then. Okay, some ID at Xbox games. There's a whole gigantic new list. A new list of some ID at Xbox games and some bangers on here. Shovel Knight, like I talked about earlier. There's a free-to-play Magic the Gathering game, which will make a shit ton of money by selling you card packs. Wasteland 2 is coming over from PC.
Yeah, that's also coming to PS4, so it is both consoles.
Super Dungeon Bros, which I don't know if I looked at that one.
It looked into. There's some. I didn't.
Tell me about some of these, because you watch trailers for everything, right?
Yeah, I watched a few trailers for them, and there's one game called the Flame and the Flood, which it caught me off guard. Not caught me off guard, but it caught me with surprise with the art style of it. It kind of reminded me of the art style from what was that game? Was it Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons? So it kind of had a similar art style, but you're not controlling them with different analog sticks, so it was a little bit better. So I like that. Is it
still a 2-character thing?
Well, there's you and there's a dog, but I'm not sure if you control the dog. It seems like it seemed like you control the dog and the woman follows you. Feels like the trailer came off a vibe of maybe she's blind, so you're kind of leading her and she follows you. That's what I got from the trailer anyway. And then there's one game called Zeros, and it's spelled Zeros. And the whole thing about that is you're like these heroes that don't really know what they're doing. They're kind of amateurish and stuff. And it's a brawler. It kind of reminds me of Pixar games with their art style and stuff. So that game really stood out. Then there's a game called the Little Acre, which is an adventure game, which again, it's you and I think a dog with you. And the art style kind of looked like hand drawn. It kind of reminded me of the Ori and the Blind Forest art style. So if you have a good art style to me, I'll definitely give your game a shot and try it out. And that seem like an adventure game.
Super Dungeon Bros, a multiplayer dungeon crawling extravaganza with a rock music theme.
Yeah, that's
all right. Well, you don't even need to show me anything. I'm in.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some good games on that list, and Shovel Knight's a big get. So they're constantly, you can tell the parity clause is not all the way gone, but they're kind of limiting it a little bit. Some of these games are launching after they're launching on the PS4 and PS3 and stuff.
Yeah, I think Shovel Knight's an awesome game too, and I'm excited to play that on a real console.
You're saying the Wii U's not a real console?
I didn't play it on the Wii. I mean, I played it I bought the 3DS version. So
saying 3DS is not a real console?
No, that was my first mistake. Super Dungeon Bros, Cluster Puck 99, RBI Baseball. I mean, there's a ton of them.
I just put RBI Baseball in there, just fuck it.
I know, fuck it.
It's got stat tracking, man.
It's got the deep stat tracking, right?
Yeah, and online play. It's got online play.
Yeah, there's a whole list. If you just kind of search it, there's a ton of stuff on there. Smite's still on there, Goat Simulator.
Yeah, and apparently they're giving out they're giving out early access codes for Smite, which begins on March 11th.
Mighty number 9, coming to Xbox. So, Madden NFL 15 is now in the vault. So if you are still an EA Access member, you get free Madden NFL 15 now.
Yep, and we didn't mention it last week, but NBA Live 15 is also there too if you'd like to get on the hardwood.
So, free is too much. Still too much.
Oh my God. It's not technically free. You gotta pay $5 a month. Or $30 a year.
That's too much. That's it for the news. A whole lot of
GDC stuff.
A whole lot of GDC, yep.
And I feel like they're doing right with Windows 10. I feel like they learned from their mistakes with games for Windows Live. They're listening to feedback and fans and what they want from like PC gaming and crossover with the Xbox One. So I feel like they're doing a good job with that. They're saying all the right things. Let's see if they can actually achieve it.
Yeah, right. So that's it. Do we have any?
We have a few listener questions / comments.
Go for it.
Jade sent us an email, said she loved Mary from GameSpot and stopped by to listen to her. Really enjoyed listening to the entire show. You guys have a new listener and Twitter follower. Hooray. Keep being awesome.
No, Jade, you keep being awesome.
We appreciate it, Jade.
Thanks. We like Mary a lot, too. Mary's awesome.
Yeah. And then we had a question from Jagoosh, VIP, ex-VIP, who knows. He said, what do you guys think of buying supply drops in Advanced Warfare? Is this still acceptable DLC, or is this pay to win? They kind of released an update this last week where it allows you to, instead of earning supply drops from doing certain challenges and stuff, you can just straight up buy them. So I feel like that is sort of pay to win because it's not just camos in there. There are actually upgraded weapons in there. So if you want to just spend $50 and buy a shit ton of great supply drops, you can get those high up weapons and do some damage to people. So I feel like they're going that route.
Yeah. I mean, you still got to go out and use them, though, right?
Yeah, you still have to be good with it, but at the same time, I feel like the people who are still playing Call of Duty are probably pretty good at it.
Yeah, I guess.
And granted, that's why they released that so late, because they feel like, hey, the people playing it are hardcore fans. They'll probably give us money to actually buy some of these supply drops. I just hope this does not keep going, because I think that's a bad way to do it, because it's going kind of the free-to-play route. They keep doing it. They started with camos, and now they're doing actual weapons.
I mean, they're all still earnable, though, right? Like, it's still something
the guns are earnable. But
anybody could get a hold of, right?
No, the supply drops, that's the whole thing. Is the supply drop weapons will have upgraded damage or an upgraded impact or something like that. So, no, they're different. They're the same weapons, but they have upgraded stats that you wouldn't get.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they're still, like, in the game. Like, you could still randomly not pay
you can still randomly get them, but
the same weapon.
How long do you think it would take to get that? You know,
I mean, who knows?
That's technically, that's what pay to win is, though.
Yeah,
like
I guess.
You pay it to get it earlier than everybody else.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't care either way. I don't
really
play enough Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of a shitty thing to start doing. But I mean, I feel like that's kind of where Call of Duty's headed at this point, right? Like,
yeah, I feel like they're on the
they still sell a shit ton of games, but
number one game last year.
Starting to be on the decline, at least in the mindshare portion.
Yeah.
You don't hear anyone talking about Call of Duty as much. Obviously, they're still making a bucket ton of money, so they don't really care if you're talking about it or not as long as you're spending money. But this is an interesting trend for what could be next year for Treyarch, which, you know, in my opinion, makes the best games and could be the ones that kind of get me back in and interested. So we'll see.
Yeah, we should learn something about that in May. Usually that's when they
slippery
talk about
slope. Yeah.
But
Modern Warfare 7.
Oh, God.
Developed
Free
by
to play. Developed by Neversoft. Use your guitar.
All right.
That's just it.
Kind of interested. That's it. That's the show. We'll be back next week with a whole lot of PAX East talk.
A whole lot of Sm1tty talking.
A whole lot of Sm1tty coming. Until then, follow us on Twitter. The podcast is at Press A to Listen. I am at Pantless Steve. Bishop is at Rare Bishop. Send us emails, send us Metacritic games. We can never have enough. The 69 jokes played out, so don't worry about that anymore. Now you gotta find a new number. That's it. You got anything?
Yeah, Twitch that bitch.
Twitch that bitch. Alright, you guys, until next week. We will see you then.